Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From Tip to Tail. This podcast is brought to you by Cuddly. Cuddly is the only dedicated crowdfunding platform built specifically for animal welfare organizations worldwide. My name is Bridget.
And I'm Sydney. Here on From Tip to Tail, we are bringing you raw, unscripted stories from animal welfare leaders. Together, we'll dive into the work that they do, the struggles they face, and the lives that are saved along the way.
We would love to hear from you. We have 2 different styles of shirts, so if you do leave us a review, we'll be happy to send you either style. It's your choice. We just really want to hear what you want to hear from us, if there's an organization that you're super interested in, and just your general feedback.
Today, we're going to be speaking to Beth and Sarah from Fixing the Boro-a. Fixing the Boro-a is a nonprofit organization based out of Statesboro, Georgia. They strive for the overall betterment in animal welfare and responsible pet ownership within their community. With long-term goals of dropping the massive overpopulation of house pets in their area, the group also places importance on low-cost spay neuter assistance, community education, and rescue work. So let's get started.
Hi, Beth. Hi, Sarah. How are you both today?
Doing well, and you?
Doing good.
Good.
Yeah. Fixing the Boro-a. So Sydney and I were actually talking real quick right before the beginning here. We were wondering if you could get into where the name comes from.
Mm-hmm.
We started Fixing the Boro with, the intent all the way from the beginning to be a spay neuter initiative, an assistance group. So fixing obviously is a pretty traditional play on spay neuter, but also with our area being so, heavily populated with animals and having kind of a lower normal for animal welfare, we are trying to essentially fix the borough in both contexts.
Very nice. Well, so how did you both get into rescue then?
I moved from an Atlanta town, so it was a very different lifestyle, I think, up there. It was extremely normal for everyone to have indoor altered pets. It was not a commonality to see, kittens at dumpsters or puppies in boxes on the side of the road. But I actually came to Statesboro for college, and within probably 2 or 3 months, it was like you were finding whole litters of puppies. And what do you do? If you have a heart for animals, you can't not stop. So I met a few of the local groups that way and then started branching out, and somehow it just became part of life. It took off because there was such a need and I felt really compelled to do something. Beth and I met a couple years ago through mutual friends and decided that the groups that we were working with, while they were great, we had a different vision, and then we took off running.
Yeah, and my story is very similar too. I came from a town about an hour away here for college, and I wanted to have a pet in some sort of way, but I didn't really want to adopt. So I started fostering for another local rescue. And then I fostered multiple animals through them. And then just meeting Sarah, we decided to kind of go our own way. And that's how we got started with it.
Yeah. And we do have a third co-founder who's not here with us. Funny enough, he was actually not involved in the animal world really at all. He adopted a cat from the animal shelter, and we were neighbors. And one night we were sitting around a bonfire, and he said, "Why have we not started something? Why have you not started something?" And Beth was there as well. And, he said, basically, I don't care what it takes, whether it be financial or assistance, as a treasurer or whatever. He said, I want to put it forward, and I want to see this go somewhere. So we gained Chris as our treasurer, and he's been with us, from the very beginning. And of course, now he could talk circles around people about animal rescue, and they tell him something. He's like, no, listen. But yeah, he's been an asset. He actually moved up to Boston. So he's still, he's still with us in spirit and is calling in and is constantly, we back and forth online, but he's still just as involved as he ever was.
That's amazing. And how long have you guys been in operation? Has it been a few years now?
I think we officially got our 501c3 February of 2017.
Yeah.
So, and about a year after that is when we decided that there was no way to solely be a spay neuter group, that we needed to also go ahead and get that rescue license through the state of Georgia. As I'm sure everyone knows rescue, if you're spaying a female dog, most of the time, the people that are super interested in that already have a litter of puppies. So, they would ask for help with financial costs of a spay or a neuter of their pets. And then while they're there say, and by the way, can you help with these 6 to 8 puppies? And it's like, yes, yes, we can. Now we can. So.
Wow. It can be a little bit challenging. You're like multi-armed, taking in puppies with one and then fixing other animals with the other.
Right.
So, and I know that from our experience, we've seen like a lot of southern states really struggle with just like such a large population. Like obviously spay neuter is a great way. It is the way to correct that. I was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about maybe the regional challenges that you have there.
You nailed it. We have a huge overpopulation issue here. We have a perfect climate, that year round animals can physically live outdoors. We have no extremely cold winters. We have, tons of outdoor families. We've got a lot of farming communities and farming families here. So I think our biggest challenge, regionally, is changing the minds of generational thoughts of animal ownership. It is so normal in farming families and in agricultural families and even in southern families to have outdoor porch dogs. It's even more normal, it seems, to have an unaltered male that is your outdoor porch dog that goes missing for days at a time because he's out making female friends. It's normal to have a barn cat that is, for the purpose of mousing, but it's not always normal to have that cat spayed. So then we have a colony of 40 cats when someone was looking for one barn cat that had a job to do. Getting in and trying to erase and rewrite all of that information that has been passed down generationally it's a challenge. It's definitely an interesting challenge.
Yeah. I can only imagine, especially like, I know just up here, we see so many cases of like hoarding and different things like that. And when you have so many animals, and then for instance, when that person like passes away or something happens, then it's like this giant problem that it's
Absolutely.
like feels so insurmountable sometimes, but and it requires so many groups coming together to correct it. So yeah, I can only imagine like a colony of barn cats and then something happens on the farm or something, and then what happens to all those animals.
It is a constant battle.
Yeah.
It really is. And we have an interesting, kind of a cornucopia of groups here in our town. We are actually also a college town. So we have a university here as well as 2 technical schools, on top of being a very heavily, predominantly farming and agricultural town. Wow. We do have a fairly high line of poverty level and families living at or below the poverty level as far as our county goes. So our resources in our county as a whole, our animal control has really stepped up. They do an amazing job. They vaccinate their animals. They microchip every animal before it leaves the animal shelter. They do have return clauses. Now that we've opened a low-cost spay-neuter clinic in Statesboro, they've started, hopefully bringing more animals in to be altered before they're even adopted. So that in itself is huge. But before, when there were no resources, animals were getting adopted out of the shelter unaltered, and they would have 30 days to show proof. And as you know, if you're adopting out hundreds, if not thousands of animals a year,
it's hard to keep track
for something to slip through the cracks. Especially if you've got until 6 months as a puppy or, 6 months as a kitten. And as you know, 6 months for a kitten means that you might already have a litter. So, it's definitely taken a lot of change, but it's really nice to see that our county commissioners and kind of the powers that be are really behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine it has to be something that, all the way up to the top, I'm sure is impacting everything. Because when you're surrounded by so many animals that are just like running around, it's hard not to be impacted by it, right?
It is. No, it is. And of course, we still have the pushback. We just recently have enacted a pilot program for TNR, the trap, neuter, release of cats. We have, been working with the county for years now trying to get this idea out there. And I think one of the biggest fears was the pushback that would come from community members that really didn't want the colonies of cats that have, picked their homes. But honestly, after they said, January 1st of this year, let's do it. Let's try it as a pilot program. Let's give it, 12 months, 2 years even. And if it's not working, then, we'll try something else. But We have a local group here that's spayed and neutered over 800 cats at this point. Yeah, the grant money that's coming in from, things like the Rachel Ray grant and the Department of Agriculture grants, different groups are kind of using that money different ways. But a big focus right now is TNR. And I mean, honestly, I hope we see a huge change in those numbers.
Yeah, it's hard to think you wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Right.
it's so like, I guess, eye-opening, because I feel like there are so many rescues out there that, we've talked to, or perhaps even those that we haven't talked to yet, that, live in the smaller, maybe southern states, or even small towns where this is a huge issue, and they're having trouble bringing up the community and educating people and just, bettering animal welfare there. And it sounds like you guys are kind of right on top of it. You have the communities working with you. I mean, it's really wonderful to hear, because, I know that is a really prominent issue in the smaller towns or the smaller states.
It is, yeah.
It definitely is. And one thing that we've seen, thankfully having a college here, we have a lot of younger open minds. And a lot of them are transfer students. So they're coming from bigger cities, Jacksonville, Atlanta, even Augusta. So they're seeing...
It's like eye-opening for them.
Yeah, familiar to what I saw, very similar to what I saw coming from a northern Atlanta town. You come down and it's like, what? This is not at all like what I'm used to. So I need to do something. And whether that just be that they reach out because they want to foster, or they're willing to drive a transport, or they're willing just to talk to their, sororities and fraternities on behalf of responsible ownership. We have so many little spider webs of people that are coming together in this town because of such a diverse population. I mean, it's really fortunate, I guess, in that front, because we look at even our neighboring cities that don't have that type of influence, or I guess that type of diversity. And they are still in the Stone Ages, it seems like, with their animal shelter welfare, with their, resource collecting, with even getting the community on board. It's like still total blind eye.
And so how have things been, better or worse or different with everything going on with like quarantine and COVID?
For us, we have maintained continuing to transport. So we work with some really great groups, and, they're able to work with us with the shelters that we pull from. So there's one here in Bulloch County that, of course, we work with. That is our priority. But we also have a few in neighboring counties or cities that don't have a lot of help. So we pull as many from them as possible and move them to rescues that are able to take in. Definitely saw a pop in fosters. We saw a bit of a pop in adoptions, but of course our procedures and policies stayed the same. We always allow a trial period. There's always a return clause, that type of thing. So we're still finding great homes, not just bored homes that want a puppy for a month or two. And so far, knock on wood, literally knocking, here we go. We haven't had, any returns from the adoptions that we've done in the past couple months. So that's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So I know, you're obviously, your main focus is this low cost clinic. So maybe if you could go into a little bit of detail of like, okay, what is required in order to be eligible to go to this clinic? What are the basic costs of like bringing in your animal, or electing to bring in like some feral cats?
Beth's our spay neuter coordinator from the beginning, so I'm going to let her have the mic on this one.
So our low-cost spay neuter clinic is open to anyone in our county or in surrounding counties. Our price range for a feral cat, we do a $55 feral cat package, and that's going to get the spay or neuter as well as the ear tip and a penicillin injection and a rabies 3 shot. Our other prices for male cats range from, I think, is it 45?
50 and 60.
Yeah, like $50 to like $85 for a female dog.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, additional rabies are $10, and we offer other vaccines on top of surgeries. We can do heartworm tests, we can do microchips, everything with surgeries.
Yeah, it looks like you have so much that is available just under that one like cost of it. Like just looking over it now, it's like you're getting a microchip, you are getting a heartworm test. Looks like you're even giving them a nail trim. So
no, yeah, that's
so we have
so
individual
cheap.
prices, and we have packages as well. And the packages are obviously a slightly better deal than buying everything individually.
Yeah, that's incredible. It feels like you leave your dog there and you get like a whole new like fresh animal basically that you're picking up afterwards.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's like
so
a good breath of fresh air, because I used to work at a few veterinary offices, and they were a little bit on the higher end prices. So hearing like that a spay is like, between $40 to $60 for a cat or dog or whatever, and it comes with all these things, that's so wonderful for me to hear, because there were so many people out there that couldn't afford to just do the basic surgery of spaying or neutering their pet because of the price. So it's like, if it's easy and it's affordable, you're bettering the lives of those animals. So that's so good for me to hear.
Right. And one of the things that we ran into when we were just working with voucher programs with local vets, which, we're extremely fortunate that we did have local vets that said, okay, we see what you're doing and we want to help. And they allowed us essentially to have a discounted rate of the spay or neuter plus a rabies vaccine. And we put a price out on the voucher for the owner and said, can you pay $50? Can you pay $60? Can you pay $20? It was a sliding scale, and we just paid the additional cost to get to that discounted rate. So, running this clinic and having the opportunity to do this, we know exactly what it costs us to do every surgery. So when we have someone that stands in front of us and, literally looks at us and says, I have saved for 2 months to do this, and I have 4 more animals, we're going to do what we can. I mean, we now have the ability to say, and it's not a pick and choose. It's, I see your heart. I see what you're doing. Let us help you, because they obviously get it,
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And it's nice to see so many people that, are having to save, and it matters to them, because we've had, of course, the same people that everyone would deal with, that they're driving their BMWs to the clinic. And, they get their $2,500, poodle mix out of the car, and they want to know why an entire dog package is $150.
Yeah.
And then we have a different family that shows up in the work vehicle that, is ragged out, and they're saying, I'm so happy this is only $150. And it's an amazing difference. It's really nice to see the people that are getting it, and they'll do whatever they can for their pets.
I mean, that has to feel like such a success on your part, because, there are just so many obstacles that are in front of, like, that lead a person just to be at your doorstep. I mean, it's like the knowledge that you've been able to impart to your community, and then convincing people, like, yes, like, you should get your animals altered, and like just getting them in their car, driving over there. And then, of course, like the financial aspect to it. I mean, that's so many little hurdles you've had to jump, and then to have like this final result of like people saying, no, I want this, I need this, and it's going to be a big part of like what makes my community a little bit better. And then just looking over things here, I mean, it also looks like you are doing like a lot more in your community than just this. I mean, it looks like you've got, like, of course, you already mentioned your transport, and then you have a food pantry. It looks like it's a pretty all-encompassing, like, all these different programs.
We've definitely sat down and we've thought about different campaigns that we would be able to launch. And of course, we, like anyone else, throw all these ideas out on paper, and we're like, yes, let's go. We are, all American, like Olympic sprinters. Let's take off. And then we take like a couple steps and we're like, okay, wait, we got to walk first. Wait. So getting the clinic open was, by far the biggest hurdle thus far in this race.
Yep.
Now that we have a physical facility that we can, witness doing good in our community, we certainly have a lot more ideas to implement. A doghouse trade-in. So if your dog is living in an sub-adequate house outside, and we're not going to be able to convince you that the dog needs to be inside, well, let's make sure the pet is altered and vaccinated. And then I want you to trade in that barrel so I can give you an actual nice waterproof, doghouse, an igloo or a plastic snap together that's actually going to hold in heat in the winter, and that's actually, going to keep water off when it rains. Let's incentivize doing better, even if better is only one step and not the sprint forward. Yeah. And the food pantry, if there is a family out there that wants to keep their pet, I don't want your pet. I don't want to take your dog. I personally want you to enjoy your pet, but let's help you while you get back on your feet, and let's make sure that your pet is not creating more pets that you can't afford.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, those are such creative solutions too. I mean, like trading in your old doghouse, and really, I mean, I love this these solutions too, because I mean, it's, you know, that you are part of the community. You're seeing these people keep their dogs in these barrels and you're like, no, okay, we can do this better.
Yeah. And I love how you guys are like jumping over one hurdle, you're accomplishing one goal or you're doing one thing, and then you're just on to the next. You know, it's never like stagnant. You're never like, hey, we made it here. This is what we've been working towards. Now we're good. It's like, this is the next step. We're going to do the next thing. It's like always.
I think that if Chris were on this call with us, he would be giggling right now because he'd say, yeah, you should see me try to rein them in. Because we're like, listen, what about this and this and this? And he's like, hey guys, you know, like, remember, we're focusing on this one thing right now. And we're like, oh, thanks, Chris. You know, like, God, thanks for keeping us grounded, you know, because we definitely being out here, you know, actually, and I don't mean that, you know, other people aren't boots to the ground, but we are dealing with the public every single day in multiple aspects. So it is so easy to brainstorm and think of, okay, so we just saw this for the first time. How do we fix that? You know, how do we make a difference there? And we've got probably binders full of thoughts that we've put out. And it's That's like, okay, incredible. One thing at a time. You know, we're new and we've only been around 3 years and we got this spay neuter clinic open. And, you know, like I said, we're moving towards, you know, a direction that we don't have to run in. We can walk and make a difference.
Definitely. And I mean, even being around for 3 years and already having a facility, like that in itself is such a large benchmark for so many animal rescues. I mean, I feel like you should just pat yourself on the back there, but I love that you're like, we don't have time to pat ourselves on the back. Right? We got to keep chugging forward.
Yeah. And it's, you know, until there is a quantifiable change that we can actually sit back and say, you know, did you have anyone call you today about taking a litter of puppies? No. Okay, is our phone on? You know, is it working? Did I lose service? What's happening? Until we get to that point, I mean, there really isn't a chance to stop. Like we take breaks and we remind ourselves to, you know, I guess stop and smell the roses, but it's rare. We'll catch each other up here. Beth and I have told ourselves 1,000 times, Monday and Tuesday, there are weekends, you know, that is our Sunday. And I'll sneak into the clinic and she'll already be here, vice versa. We're both like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be at home, but that's just part of it.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys are like super immersed into like the rescue world. I did want to ask, is this your guys' full-time job or do you guys have jobs on the side as well?
These are our full-time jobs.
I mean, I imagine, just from what I've seen in our community, like a little bit north of you, I mean, I know our low-cost clinics have just been bombarded lately. So I can imagine it has to feel like two full-time jobs just in one.
Right. It is. And we have, you know, the rescue division as well. So, you know, prior and still, we have positions in the rescue as well as running the clinic. You know, I'm the rescue coordinator. Beth has always been spay neuter coordinator, which before was the voucher systems and now has transferred into, you know, the clinic in its entirety. But, you know, we have the ability to hold up to 40 pets at any given time. And I can't remember a time that we've had under 30, you know, 25 to 30 with litters and everything else that, you know, of course, litters, nursing on mom count as the whole one. But, you know, for at least the past 2 years. So we've got a foster coordinator and a transport coordinator, and they're running around busy bees all the time too. So it really is like two full things in one.
Well, so how large is your organization now? I mean, so there's the three of you, and then it sounds like two more, a foster coordinator and a transport coordinator.
We also have a donations coordinator as well as a, I guess, PR and campus liaison type coordinator. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's like barely two hands of people balancing everything there. I mean, and I feel like too, after talking a little bit with some of the rescues, it really has been eye-opening, I think, for me, that like no matter what your background is, if you have that passion for animals, like your skill set is needed. So do you also take in like volunteers, or, I mean, I would assume, do you have fosters as well?
We do. We're totally foster based. We don't actually have like a kennel facility or an adoption facility. We have the clinic, of course, but we don't hold adoptable animals here. Yeah, we always take in volunteers. Anyone that's willing to come up here when we're working or when we're not and help us roll surgical packs or run laundry because that poor machine has not stopped in 3.5, 4 months. Exactly. It's running now. we definitely can utilize people to clean crates after transports, people to drive transports, people to help out at adoption events since we don't have a facility, to do them that way.
And
we
now
do
that the clinic's open on weekends, people to run our adoption events on the weekends now.
And fundraisers and things like that.
We do rely on volunteers.
And we'll definitely include a link so that people can maybe contact you if they're interested in volunteering. Because I know it makes such a big difference from what I've seen. Like just a couple of volunteers can do so much and relieve so much of the stress that you're dealing with. Of course, it sounds like you'll probably just be like, and now I'll take that energy and start a new program. Which is, whatever you choose to do, all the better. Starting out from where you did, is there any recommendation? There are so many very, very small rescue organizations. I feel like there are more every day just of someone who can't not start a rescue.
Right.
So what would you say is a piece of advice that you wish you had when you were getting everything started?
I guess just continue to keep your ears open. There is never, ever, ever a time that you will know everything. There is physically no way that your experience could ever outdo someone else's experience when they could be totally different and you could take something from it. I think that both of us working with other groups first showed us a lot of what is traditional, what is expected, what is done of a good group. But it showed us both at the same time as well what we would change if we started our own group. And now that you've talked to us for 20, 30 minutes, you can tell we're a little headstrong. We definitely see things in a light that we like to, put our touches on it. So starting our own group, I don't even think it was a question once we had sat down and really talked out what we saw as our goal, and we just took off. But definitely a recommendation of, learn the P's and Q's, the ins and outs of what a good group does so that you at least have a nice foundation to build on.
Yeah, no, that's such great advice. Mimic, but make it your own.
Right. There's only so many ways that you can, rebuild the wheel. Intake and vetting and adoptions and your policies there, that really doesn't vary between reputable rescues. There's always going to be a take back. There's always going to be the vaccinations and the spay neuter and hopefully a microchip. And, every rescue's ploy to get a dog adopted or a cat adopted. But the in-between, how do we treat animals with specific ailments or injuries or illnesses or, behavioral problems? How do we see to it that pet still goes to a home, if possible, course, that will cherish that dog for life or cat for life and understand that animal. It's not just getting pretty dogs adopted. It's making sure that they don't come back 4 times just in the sake of adoption.
Absolutely. You just hit it on the head right there. I feel like I've seen
the nail on the head, or how you say it.
Absolutely. No, yeah. I feel like there are so many people that are like, I want a German Shepherd or whatever else. And it's like, well, you can't just be like it's not every German Shepherd is made equally. So you don't know if that one is going to be meant for you. No. So I love that. The personality means just so much.
Preference rules the world. Of course, we know that we're going to have people that come to us to adopt and they have in their head exactly what they want. And I want to help them find that. But I'm not just going to let them pick the first thing that sparks their, ooh, that's pretty.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Work it out. It'll be great. Call us, whenever you need us. How about let's pair the pet with the person. So are you an avid runner? Are you outdoorsy? Are you, super active? Do you swim? Do you have a pond in your area? Then let's talk about why you want this German short-haired pointer. Because likely, he is going to eat you out of house and home if you do not stimulate both his body and his mind.
That's so funny you say that. I have one actually right behind me who's he wants to go running ASAP.
Yeah. It's in their genetics. They're working dogs. They love to play. They love to work. They love to be active. And you can't deprive them of that, or you have a dog that ends up eating your couch and
exactly. Yeah, they get the destructive behavior if you're not ready to commit to the exercise or even the temperament that they have. I agree with that totally. You can't just pick based on you got to pick on the dog. Dogs, exercise level, your lifestyle, that pet's temperament, all that stuff go into account.
Absolutely.
We've barely even touched on the rescue side of all of this, which, I mean, I know you take in not only dogs and cats, but it looks like rabbits as well.
Yes. We do have a full division, which actually that is another coordinator that I'm so sorry, Farah. She is our small animal coordinator, and her love of rabbits and her extreme knowledge and education on small animals. We saw a need and she stepped up and said, I'll coordinate that. And we said, yeah, okay. Sounds great. So we've been in and rehomed since I think we started the division probably around Thanksgiving. And I think we've probably taken in at least 16 to 20 rabbits and, rehome them to indoor knowledgeable homes since then, which isn't a lot, but, anytime we have one at the shelter, we always pull them. And if we see someone rehoming one online, of course, we give them that option before just selling the bunny. Would you prefer? And we do still spay every rabbit, spay and neuter every rabbit that comes through. They do not leave us unaltered. So,
Yeah, I mean, creature's great and small. It sounds like.
Absolutely.
Well, so is there an animal that's come into your care that has really impacted you? I mean, their story and their journey that maybe you carry with you a little bit?
I'll let Beth think. She looks like she's thinking on hers, but mine would be a dog named Stormy. And it was right after we had gotten started. And, we had been working with other rescues for a while before we started Fixing the Boro. But we had a hurricane come through, which, is pretty traditional. We're in Southeast Georgia. We're only about an hour from the coast. So hurricanes hit us pretty prevalently. But the Savannah Animal Shelter was under an order that they had to clear the entire shelter within, 2 days, or what was left would have to be euthanized because there was not going to be anyone able to come to the shelter due to an evacuation. So it was mad chaos. I run down. I mean, I take the day off work. I run down to the shelter. I meet up with Carrie with One Love, who is just absolutely incredible. And we're walking, the halls of this shelter, and we're slapping cards and, stickers on there saying, okay, we've, got commitment for this one, got commitment for this one. And essentially there was a feral mother and her puppy that had just recently been picked up. They were doing their stray hold. Of course, they weren't going to be claimed. I mean, they were covered in mange spots and had been living at a dumpster basically. And I think we had originally committed to like a senior dog that was covered in tumors and then like a pit puppy and something else. But for some reason, whatever it was, it wasn't going to work out. And I said, all right, let's do it. We're dumb. It's crazy. Let's take these 2 feral dogs. Stormy still lives with me. It took her 2 years it took about 6 months for her to come to me to at least pet her face. Otherwise it was, I don't trust you. I have no intentions of trusting you. This is now the dog that I live on 12 acres. I have horses and goats and chickens. Oh my. And she is my off leash at the hip companion that if I go somewhere, she goes somewhere. She is, if you're going to get on that golf cart, I want to go, I want to get on the couch where you are. And I am her person. I mean, it is amazing to see how much she trusts me now. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't put her through adoption. So I said, you know what, you stink. Like, I guess I'll sign these papers on both lines, adopting for myself, but she stayed. So that's a big one. I mean, it was years of work and it's still years of work, but
that just sounds so satisfying to be able to see her like transform like that. Even if it's over the course of months, just like that one pet that she lets you do, or like that first pet, or that first sign that she trusts you, that's just got to be amazing.
It was worth it. I was going to say the one that stands out to me was the first time that I stopped petting her and she reached out with her paw and pulled my hand. And I was like, ooh, my heart.
And you're like, okay, I'll just cry now. It's fine.
Yeah. So I think my favorite story we've done, and you'll have to help me with some of the, like how we originally got him, but with Chance. So Chance, we found, or we were contacted about a shelter in, was it Darien? So in Darien, Georgia, it's about 2 hours south of us, of this dog that had been picked up. The neighbors had noticed him in someone's yard, and he was basically tied out with no food, no water. He was completely skin and bones. And someone was like, can you come get this dog now? So we got him. We took him to our vet. Our vet gave him a body score of basically
he was a 0. Yeah.
It's on a 1 to 10.
It depends on the scale, but I mean, it was
usually, but
there was no muscle or fat on that body, and it was skin attached to bone, attached to, organs. There was nothing else there.
Yeah, we really didn't expect him to make it that first night or the second or third or first week, really. But slowly he stayed with our vet, and our vet fell in love with him.
Yes, he did.
And he just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And now if you see him, you would not even notice, or you wouldn't even realize that he was so frail at one point. He is like the chunkiest little pit bull right now.
He actually
the greatest family too.
And he has his own Facebook page. It's Justice for Chance.
Justice for Chance. Oh, I'm gonna have to look that up when we're done.
It was a full-on court case that we were willing to go to bat, whatever it took to have somebody, acknowledge what happened to him.
Right.
Because he was originally a shelter dog that was adopted. In Darien, he ended up in Long County, I think, Liberty County. Somewhere over there, yeah. But animal control there picked him up and said, "Holy crap! This is not okay." And thankfully, I mean, you deal with the good old boy systems, but that animal control officer ended up making a complaint as a civilian to actually start that case. Because his county, the law enforcement there said, "We're not doing this." It's all who you know and how you're involved with what you get away with in these areas. And it's really heartbreaking to see what we see, and then see people just walk free with nothing, not even a slap on the wrist, not a monetary fine, nothing. So we were pretty, we were pretty angry about that one though. We didn't let that one go.
And do you see that rather often? Cause I know you guys do take in, you do the spay and the neuter and the educating and things like that, but you do take in a lot of medical cases as well. Would you say that there's like a pattern of like maybe injuries or conditions that you see more often in the area you're in?
A lot of hit by cars, and that kind of spurs from that regional. We have outdoor dogs. We don't contain or fence our dogs. Of course, we don't walk them on a leash when we live on 20 acres.
Yeah, exactly.
And so there's a heavy majority there. Another issue, we do have a Department of Agriculture here, which does have a lovely list of requirements for licensed breeders. But you can physically Google Georgia puppy mills and see what is considered acceptable by our Department of Agriculture. And we get called in so often when a breeder is ill or they are finished with breeding, and they'll tell you, we had a situation 2 years ago that the woman told me on the phone that she had about 60 dogs.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Oh my gosh is coming. She said she had about 60 dogs, about 8 breeds, most of them small, but she did have some Huskies and German Shepherds. And I said, okay, well, I'm the big dummy that tends to go for the herding breeds. We definitely work with German Shepherd and Husky rescues too. So that's not hard. And then of course, every rescue will open the door for a couple small dogs. So we can probably do 60 pretty easily. We got there and she had about 160. She did not know how many animals she had. She did not know how many were in each of the, rabbit hutch style breeder pens that she had for the tiny dogs. She had kittens and puppies that she had put in a shed because, the mother had rejected them and, was going in to essentially feed them by hand, but forgot them. I mean, she didn't know they were there and they were alive, but it was like, you didn't know they were here, or were you hiding them from us? Because what we're not going to do is allow that. If we're removing everything from property, you've already signed that paper and it's going to be me or you here. Now I'm going to take it all, or, we're going to have to do something different. And
it gives me goosebumps just imagining like opening that shed or even coming and seeing that many animals. Oh my gosh.
It's not uncommon. As sad and as scary as that is, we probably assisted in the past year with at least 6 to 8 hoarding / gigantic kennel busts / also turnovers or whatever else. And you hit this moral line of, and we know many rescues that don't, you can go in quietly, you cannot make a stink, you cannot show the cruelty that's happening there. And you can create, I'm doing my air quotes right now, a partnership or friendship with some of these breeders so that when the dog does retire from breeding or has a medical issue or is injured, that they'll call you. Or you can go in and you can blow it up. You can go in and say, this is how they're living. This needs to be shut down now. We're willing to help, but we need law enforcement. We need the Department of Agriculture to say that they can't keep doing this.
Absolutely.
And in about 80 plus of those cases, Department of Ag goes in, law enforcement goes in, and nothing happens. So you walk away in some cases leaving 200 and 300 dogs behind, and it's fine. So say the law.
Yeah.
And that's a very scary thing. Mm-hmm. And everything passes. They're living on, graded wire floored rabbit hutch style, pins basically, or they're living in 10 by 10 kennels with 2 to 3 dogs, and they've got a raised dog house. So that's acceptable. And it's like, you're selling these puppies for hundreds of dollars a piece, and you can't even afford a better situation. At least for the welfare of the animals, if you're going to breed, don't torture a dog. Don't do
exactly. At least, have the decency to, provide them with even the basic medical care, the basic comforts of just having a bed on their feet or, not on a wire crate.
When we get them, they usually are missing, most of their teeth or need extreme dentals. They're heartworm positive. The small long-haired breeds, they're covered in mats. Their nails are grown all the way around, circled into their pads. So, even the bare minimum, the basics are not covered.
I love that you're so vocal about it, because I think that one of the best ways to bring about change is to make people aware. And the first thing to make people aware is just to start the conversation, no matter how sad or how, difficult it is to hear what's actually happening. It is a conversation that needs to be had. And I very much applaud you for actually saying that, because I'm sure a few of our listeners are probably opening their mouth at hearing,
right?
And just horrible circumstances these animals have to live in sometimes.
It's a full circle too, because if we educated buyers, and I don't mean just buyers of purebred dogs that are going to breeders or anything else, but in a sense of adopters, paying an adoption fee. If we educated buyers all the way across the board what to look for in a good rescue and what they need in a pet, they would stop putting money into people's pockets that continue to do this because they're getting rich.
Absolutely.
If they had any idea that the pet stores that they're visiting, that have all these precious little fluffy puppies at Petlands and everything else. Yeah, TM that. But
those animals are coming from.
Right. If they had any idea, I think that as hard as it would be, they would stop going. And for that first round of dogs, it's not going to damn them, because the thing is, when the pet store can't sell them, they'll surrender them to a shelter, or they'll discount the price heavily, or they'll give them to a rescue, which means that those dogs still win because they get out of that situation. They're altered and they get to become pets. But the more we keep buying the dogs that are coming from situations that are this bad, the harder it makes rescues jobs. There's just no way to stop it without starting on the other end.
Definitely. And I can only imagine what you've seen. Given the fact that outdoor dogs are such a norm, that these breeders are such a norm, and then to reduce that down and be like, okay, the small percentage that you do see are probably the worst of the worst. That has to be so trying for you. But so what is the thing that gives you a little bit of comfort or inspiration to keep going then?
Honestly, I think finding people that get it. Yeah. No matter how many times we strike out with attempting to educate someone, the one person that says, I didn't know that, and I feel really bad that I didn't know that, but I want to do it differently. That's what makes it worth it. It's totally worth talking with someone that, we do this food pantry. This has opened a lot of doors for meeting people in the community that we may not have met before. People that aren't going to be able to afford an adoption fee, that most likely would not have come out to an adoption event or, a fundraiser that may or may not have cost money to attend. And we're getting to meet these families, and you see that, underneath the strife that they're going through, they have a heart that's just like ours. We have families that are feeding 30 and 40 cats because they don't know how to not feed the cats. We've got families that they've picked up yet another puppy on the side of the road because how did I drive past it? Yeah. And while they're coming in, of course, to get food from us, we know, okay, those pets are fed. We know that they care enough to leave their home once a week to come get food for their pets. And we know that when the pet is old enough, or if they will allow it, then we will also alter that pet. So we've now got a situation where we had a dog on the side of the road that could have been hit by a car, left to starve. And instead, the dog is being fed in a home and will not reproduce. So there's always, I guess, a silver lining of, of what's going on. It's just how you look at it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like doing the work you do, and I mean, we just see like the top of the water here. I mean, I feel like it's so hard to see. And I know so many donors who come to our site. I mean, I get messages all the time of them saying like, I'm heartbroken. This is so hard to see. People are so terrible. But I love the fact that you're coming around and being like, yeah, some people are, but there are also those people that stop on the side of the road to take in the dog, that go out of their way to be like, I don't know, we can't say no to all these cats. So I feel like as many terrible people as there are, I still have to believe that there are those like more wonderful people as well.
There's so many ways to help and be a part of the solution too. It's so important that people know that you don't have to donate hundreds or thousands of dollars to make a difference. You can literally just offer to walk a dog at a shelter. I mean, there's so many ways to get involved. And I feel like so many people think, okay, well, I can't donate, so I can't really help. And it's like, no, you can be just as big a part of the change with anything you're willing to donate, be it your time, be it, your money, if you've got it, like whatever it is, you can find a part.
Absolutely. Even like, you see it, especially in rescue, you get to, perhaps see the worst parts of humanity, but then again, you also get to work with the best parts of humanity, those people that, care and are willing to put their, time aside to take care of an animal that they don't really know, or even donate to an animal that they've never even met. Absolutely. That's incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, if you can't donate, if you share that to your social media page that has another 1,000 people, I bet that one of your friends can.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or you've got the person that's on the friends, page that's the exact dog they're looking to adopt. Oh my gosh, So always a plus. Like yeah, exactly. We adopted someone in Ohio once after we did a big hoarding case, and she saw Opie, and it was love at first sight. I mean, she said, you don't understand. Like my fiance and I, we will drive tomorrow. And we talked to her, back and forth for like 2 weeks, and really got to know her and her fiance. And they were just amazing. I mean, they were absolutely amazing. And they drove from Ohio to Statesboro, Georgia.
Oh my gosh.
To adopt Opie the Beagle mix, and have since adopted a second dog in Ohio from a local rescue to them. So they now have a whole house full of adopted pets. And it started because they saw Opie's goofy little sweet face on Facebook that was shared by a mutual friend.
Even on like rescue posts, I've like read that, like even like sharing them, liking them, like commenting on them, that does something. That does so much more than you can possibly imagine.
Yeah,
that's so wonderful. Well, so I know we've talked about some heavy stuff, so we do have a couple fun questions just to lighten things up. You have do you both have personal pets now?
Yeah,
we do.
I mean, I have to ask because I know, was it Sarah? Were you the one that said, well, I started fostering because I didn't want a pet of my own?
That was Beth. Yeah.
Oh, Beth?
Mine are probably easier.
Yeah, start with Beth because you'll be here a while.
Well, yeah. So, okay. What is the naughtiest thing your pet has done?
There's so many things. So I recently adopted a Chihuahua named Todd, and I have 2 pit bulls as well. My boy pit bull is now jealous of the Chihuahua, so he ate his toys. Completely, which was fun. So then that was a whole fun vet trip and everything. Pretty naughty on his part, because he ate whole toys.
Indeed.
It's not happened in the 5 years I've owned him. But.
Yeah. I have 3 dogs that are all within a month apart in age. I have 8 dogs total. Let's make that clear. But Dixie, Barrett, and Cessna are, a month apart with their birthdays. So having them all together, they, my boyfriend's dog is one of them. My dog was one. And then I had Cessna as a foster who just ended up staying. But they would, of course, always find things to get into. It was like 3 toddlers that, you could blink for a second and be like, how did you get on the fan? Like, how are you up there? But one day, I do believe in crate training, especially puppies that are mischievous. They were all crated. And one of them, not sure which, because they've never told, but either Dixie or Barrett got out of their kennel and then let the other out. And I had an entire box of crafting supplies that were sitting on the floor in the kitchen. And they took an entire pack of Crayola washable markers to the couch and ate them on the couch. So there was rainbow spotted coloring all over my entire suede couch. I no longer have that couch thanks to them. There
Oh my
was
God, I was going to say,
glitter
was there
in
glitter?
places that I'm still finding. Yep, there's still glitter in my fake plants. There's still glitter that I find when I like move rugs and stuff. And I'm like, really? Still? It's been, almost 3 years. Like, what is... There were glue sticks that were, chewed into multiple pieces, and then just big chunks of glue that had been stomped all over the house. Thankfully, nobody had any upset tummies or residual, but I definitely had a really magical time cleaning that up. And they had a really magical
I can only imagine like what you thought when you first came in and saw all of it. Like, oh my gosh.
It was one of those like, no, I'm leaving now. I'm turning
You're
around.
like, no, I'm just going to turn back the other way.
Someone else is going to have to do this.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
It's so funny too that that they're like, I'm not going to do this alone. I need to let someone else out to help me.
And that is exactly who they are even now. They are like Beavis and Butthead. They are dumb and dumb. They're an absolute team. And then Cessna, who's, the smallest, she runs the show. She's everyone's boss. So
always the small one.
Okay. So if your pets could talk, it sounds like they are right now. What is the first thing they would say to you?
I don't know. I think Hannah, my bulldog, would probably just say bubble, bubble, bubble over and over. Barrett would just say pond. Just over and over.
Pretty much all mine would just say, let's go to the pond now. Let's go play.
I think Diesel, my Australian Shepherd, I think he might have like a really eccentric accent. Like he might be like an Englishman that would finally be able to tell me that, how dare I keep him as a dog because he's actually people. And the rest of them would be like jerky treat, like, huh?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Absolutely. He is my sophisticated guy.
And so for the last one, it is a little bit tougher, but if you had to pick one life motto, what would it be?
That is hard.
Ooh.
One life motto.
Mine's on my Facebook page.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess stay humble and be kind.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Absolutely. You just never know what people are going through, and you can help them a whole lot more by, helping than judging. So
exactly.
It goes such a long way. I mean, we can all be critical of each other until the cows come home, but
before you guys called, Beth and I were cutting pieces of surgical wrap, and I'm never going to let her live it down. But one time Beth cut a roll of fleece blankets and it was terrible. I mean, none of them were straight. It's like you pick them up and they're terrible. And so we're very critical of each other, but in a very joking family type way. So I was cutting something. She said, well, don't cut them like me. And I said, I don't think that's possible. Picking on each other always. But
that's so funny. Like sisters.
Yep.
Well, you got to keep the humor.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. I know you probably have a packed schedule, but I mean, it's been so wonderful talking to you and hearing how you, just meet your community where they are and help with their specific needs. I mean, it's so great.
Well, thank you guys for thinking of us and for having us and talking with us. We definitely love expressing our love for what we do.
It was so great speaking to Beth and Sarah about everything they're doing with Fixing the Boro, from their low-cost clinic to the rescue work to how they're influencing the community, challenging norms, and making lasting change. If you want to know a little bit more about them, you can check our show notes or the blog on cuddly.com.
And remember to rate, like, and subscribe. Remember, we're doing something special, so if you do leave a review right now, you do have a chance to win a Cuddly swag shirt. But be sure to also follow us on social media accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at We Love Cuddly. That's CUDDLY. Thanks, guys.